I'm Dawn Janes-Bartley, President, Risk Manager, and Insurance Guru at Minnesota Insurance Group. I want to talk to you about food spoilage and contamination coverage. If you think about from a restaurant's perspective, your product is food. It comes to you from outside sources and vendors. They touch it, it's brought into your establishment. It needs to be stored in certain conditions, maybe at certain temperatures, and only for certain lengths of time. Your employees may come into contact with that while prepping it or washing it. And all throughout that process, that food has an opportunity to spoil or become contaminated. For example, if there's a power outage and your refrigerator or freezers drop below the appropriate temperature, you can have certain foods that will spoil, and as a result, if they're used for cooking, you can have guests that get sick, have foodborne illnesses, food poisoning, and that can result in some claims. You can have an issue with the health department and have to come and have cleaning done or testing done and inspections. So those parts of food contamination and spoilage are really important to be looked at for coverage from a restaurant standpoint. Other ways that food becomes contaminated or spoiled is when it's brought right in from that third-party vendor. If they didn't hold it in the right temperature and the right conditions, you may have already received it spoiled and then turned around and served it to guests. So you also might have a situation where your least favorite employee comes to work despite being sick with a stomach flu and contaminates the food that they come into contact with, and that would be limited then to the food that day and the customers that day or the food prepped during that time. Each of those types of claims requires some coverage for food contamination and food spoilage. What's not going to be covered is if you didn't use your food before the expiration date and it just goes to waste. So that kind of a coverage is not, or that kind of a claim is not part of that coverage. So remember that don't be fooled by thinking about that mechanical breakdown or equipment breakdown coverage. Those coverages are going to provide replacement for your equipment. So your freezer or your refrigerator, for example, that has a mechanical breakdown. But that food inside still needs to have a food spoilage or food contamination limit on it. So make sure you have enough coverage for your inventory and enough liability to cover extra claims and expenses for cleanup and testing and damages. Happy to answer your questions. I'm Dawn with Minnesota Insurance Group.